Rudy Giuliani's Upper East Side apartment is for sale.
Oh, no. It's to pay for those legal fees. Poor guy.
Got any takes on that? 6.5.
Right.
Oh.
It's 45 East 66th Street. It's not far from my favorite burger joint, JG Mellon. It's on the
Wow.
corner of 3rd and 74th.
What's the fellows' names that work there in case they're listening to the podcast?
Bob and Neil.
Bob and Neil. They've been doing it for years.
Oh, those guys are awesome, and I'm not even joking. Bob, Neil, if you should ever see this, I love you guys.
Yeah. Hey, what's the best part, or what's your favorite part about the burger? We've had many discussions about what makes up the great burger.
Well, the bun is good. There's not too much bread. It's a good meat to bun ratio.
Yeah. Important.
One thing that's really important to me is that it holds together well.
Yeah.
Like, I hate when it's just sliding all over the creation. You can't even, it's just a mess. Holds together really nicely. The cheese is really good. It's cooked pretty rare, which is how I like it. And then they taught me that the toppings I like most are just red onion and pickle. That's it. I was always a big lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, the whole works. Don't need it all.
Walk it through the garden is what they say.
JG Mellon, New York City, Bob and Neil. I'd go there. And they're also, man, they're the most professional, top-notch service, and also really, really nice. I can't say enough about it. It's my favorite happy place in the world, I think.
You think we could get them on?
Maybe. They're really cool dudes.
I may surprise you one day.
Older guys, they're probably 50s, I'm going to guess. I don't know. Around 50, probably.
Okay.
You might have to take the podcast to them.
Yeah, well, we will. We'll take it on the road. I've been looking at RVs to take this thing on the road with.
Pull up on 3rd Avenue in New York and say, step into my RV.
That's right.
We're going to get you on a podcast.
People have went to prison for less.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, what you said, what were you going to say?
I was going to ask, what else you got in there?
Well, are you ready for... Do you think we have a graphic made up? We're about to find out.
Let's
Here
see.
it comes. In the news. Okay. So this is sort of one of the things where you write in anonymously and ask a question, right? Dear Abby sort of a deal.
Okay.
Clear your throat.
Bless you.
Reading voice.
This one's called When a Coworker Makes It All Up.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
Question.
Watch out.
I work in a job with specific calling and sales targets that determine employee performance and promotion. Every day, rankings in a variety of categories on these metrics are published. One colleague in particular is always number one in every category. When a few close coworkers and I got suspicious of her consistent first place, which is not close at all, it's by a landslide, almost unbelievable, we found that in fact the data isn't true. She's logging calls that never happened and falsifying her activity to get to the top. This colleague now gets special praise each month, got promoted, and is in a mentorship role and makes everyone else's numbers look bad. I know snitching will make me look bad as an employee in the long run, but what should I do now that I know it's all fake? Confront her manager, HR? ? Signed, Anonymous.
Whoa.
Well, this is hot.
How are you going to respond to that?
Corey, go. I'm excited to hear. I think I know Corey's take on this.
Well, snitches get stitches.
They
so
do.
That's what we've been taught first off.
First off, don't snitch.
We're not snitching.
Okay.
No. Yeah. Man, that's a tough one.
Would
we
you
know
confront-
it's fake. How does she know it's fake?
Well, that's a good question.
How do we know
better,
she's not just a top performer?
Right, you better get your facts right if you're going to come strong with that accusation.
Yeah,
That's number one.
Yeah.
Would you confront the person?
That usually doesn't end very well. I don't
No.
think I'd go that route.
Just sit back and do nothing and wait for justice to run its course.
I think that's probably, honestly, the best bet, unless if it's some kind of fraud or something that's actually going to, really harm the business or the people that they're taking care of. So,
Well, we can make this a little bit more applicable. Corey, you're in charge of the sales division. We're putting out the promotion right now for the business card side of it. What if a director calls you and says, Gary's cheating? I know Gary's cheating. Are you mad at Gary, or are you telling, I don't know, Kimberly to mind her own business? What are you doing there?
Man, that's really tough.
It is tough.
It is.
I would love to know how they would know that it's cheating in the first place. And all we're asking for is for people to go out and talk to other people, like,
Right.
and just try to grow your business by going out and being part of the community and really trying to help others. So it's like, how and why would they be cheating? Well, all they're trying to do is trying to bring business onto their end.
Yeah.
But it's just a conversation that I would need to have to whoever would be turning in, the fictitious business cards. It really shouldn't be a problem on our end, but
Right.
I can see how, and I've been a part of other companies where this is, something like, that Dear Abby letter.
You actually saw that happen?
I've seen stuff like that happen when you can just click a button and then you kind of are rewarded for certain things. And, that's obviously not what we're about.
Yeah.
We're about actually doing it, and you can see it in the results.
Sure.
That's where if the results were to come back and the people who are submitting all these fake business cards aren't getting any new clients in, or helping more and more people in the community, then that's when you would know that there might be something going on here.
I see.
But maybe.
Yeah, I've been in roles like that as well, where I did I helped with census at senior living communities, and a lot of it was showing activities, right? That's how your boss in your region kind of determined if you were active or not. And I could clearly see some people that weren't doing the things that they should be doing, but was being, recognized for it. And you're like, well, your census isn't matching those activities. I get, sometimes Ben gives me a hard time because I say I'm not very competitive. And I think that's what I mean by that. Like, when I see that, the Lexington person wasn't doing what I was doing in Russell or whatever, it never made me mad that I'm like, whatever, that's going to sort itself out. I never was like angry at that person. It's like, oh,
exactly,
Gary, you didn't do that. It just never bothered me.
Yeah, I think in the long run, like, just continue to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And seriously, just be the person that you are. And if you want to be competitive, try to beat them even with their fake numbers. Like,
Right.
Don't let their fake numbers cause you any harm. Just continue to do better and better. And really, who knows what that top ceiling is. I've worked with some people who are just the best performing people.
Sure.
And they find another level. And then that's what it's all about. Like, just continue to push yourself and going out and talk to more people. So
I'll also say, if the company is ran so poorly that someone can fake it that bad that a peer has caught it and the bosses haven't, I would be looking for a new job. That just sounds like either no one's watching the house, or it's so easy to manipulate.
Well, let me tell you what your response is pretty much what this writer advised also. I'll give you a few snippets of it because I know that the folks want to know the answer.
Everyone wants to know.
And I'm really the voice of the people.
Yeah, the hotlines are lit up right now. People calling in about this.
The gist of it is, this, in all seriousness, this kind of mendacity tends to catch up to a person. I hope her day will come. I never recommend snitching.
Exactly.
But doing nothing will only exacerbate this untenable situation. Certainly, you can confront her with what you know because her lies are materially affecting you and your colleagues. All the benefits she's receiving from her supposed exemplary performance are unearned, which I know is infuriating. But before you move forward, think through some questions. Do you have credible proof of her misdeeds? Also, Cory brought that up.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen if you confront her? Kind of really just goes on to say, what you really want is a level playing field for all kinds of reasons. That doesn't really exist anywhere. Still hope you can find a way forward that is more fair and doesn't reward only someone who's willing to cheat to get ahead. Just to be sure you're thinking carefully about the consequences of however you proceed. Yeah. So it's really, you got to think long and hard about it.
Doesn't really sound like she offered any advice at
There
all.
wasn't.
There wasn't. Yeah.
She kind of, I skipped the middle paragraph. Basically, she kind of just said,
Mind your
even
business.
if you confront her, what's it really going to change?
Yeah.
And if somebody's willing to lie so flagrantly, are they going to be willing to suddenly confess all their sins and see the light? The kind of a thing. So don't snitch and be patient and make sure you're right.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you if the trip to the Bahamas is on the line.
Introduce Cory.
Yeah, who's here? Hello?
We've been doing this for 20 minutes.
Who is this guy?
I'm starting the timer
Random guy.
late.
Oh, boy. Hey, man.
What's up? How's it going?
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks.
We
Thanks for
got
having me on.
Cory Watson in studio with us. Jeff, today's a big deal. All right.
Vice President of Business Development.
Yeah. And just a super cool guy. Cory, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Secret
Glad to
VCG
be on.
experience. Yeah. And we got a hot studio audience today. The lights are shining bright.
Yep.
It's a beautiful day out.
It's
How
nice.
have you been, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Loving
Well,
it.
Thanks for coming down and being on the podcast today.
Thanks.
Today's going to be a good day. Cory, just to start us off, tell us a little bit about you, about your position here at the company, your time with the company, and then a couple things that maybe the listeners won't know about you.
Sure. Yeah, I've been around for 4.5 years now. Started off as the executive director in Point Pleasant. Ran that branch for a couple years. Started an office in Parkersburg. Brought on some good executive directors in those roles, and then that's right around the time when we decided we were just going to explode and just go all over the place. So that's when my role kind of evolved into what I do currently. And I go out and open up new offices. I get to meet a lot of really good applicants and bring on new executive directors, and man, completely just love my job. I really get to work with the best people. Our executive directors are literally, it's very, very, very difficult to pick who's going to join our team. We have such a great culture. I think that's something that we take extremely serious, and to really sit down and take the time to get to know the ins and outs to every single person that we interview, and we all, as both of you know, sit there and talk about and really fine tune exactly who we're going to pick into what specific office they're going into, and it takes a while, but man, I love that part of the job.
Yeah.
So, outside of work, love hanging with my family. My kids, my wife, my kids, we're constantly together. If I'm not at work, whenever I leave work, I'm headed to football field. I'm headed to the baseball field, going to the basketball courts.
On top of being a member of our executive team, Cory is you're a really good representative in your community. You coach a lot of multiple teams because you got two boys that are both different ages, so you're out constantly coaching and other people's kids too. Talk about that work-life balance and how you keep it so tight, and it means a lot to you. I can tell that.
Yeah, absolutely. Even from my time as an executive director, this job has allowed me to live more of just a more balanced life. You could always have the phone. As long as you have your phone, you could really do this job anywhere, right? So for me, just being able to be with my kids, being able to coach their sports, give back to my community. I can still remember all this, almost every single team I was ever a part of, and the coaches that I had that have really influenced me to this day. So I'm trying to give back into my community, and, it's honestly, that's a huge part of my life, is just being able to do that. So,
Sure.
Outside of that, just being with my family, we, trying to keep my kids always into everything. Of course, that's not very hard. They're constantly all over the place. So we're either in some kind of sport with some sport team, or we're out playing golf, or trying to play. Their kids are trying to play pickleball or run around the lake. Who knows?
Madden and Brody.
Yep.
Shout out.
Yeah.
They're great athletes and real good little kids too. Real
Yeah.
polite. They come around the office sometimes, and
man.
they're real respectful and nice. But boy, when they get home, I bet they're just ready to roll.
Man, it's competitive, and they're going all over the place. So it's fun.
Well, cool, man. So before you came to Village Caregiving, what was your background in? What was your professional life like?
Yeah, really, some banking, sales, and management. That's really what where I've kind of came up, and I really, probably like almost every person who's in college, you think about life and you think about, what do I want to do? And I started out in biology, and I was like, did that for about 1.5 years in college. I was like, boy, this is a long road, and I don't think I want to do it. And you see success from certain people, and my uncle, Jeff Nash, you see he was successful in the pharmaceutical world, and my other uncle Brian, he's doing the same thing in pharmaceuticals, and you kind of see, sales was something that I kind of always, I had sales jobs in high school even, you kind of do jobs and you get comfortable talking to people, and I just found myself going in that direction. So I ended up going into business school, and then, come out of college, and, go straight into a sales and management job that really, to this day, a lot of those principles are the same principles that I use to this day. So, I've always seen myself in that sales role or in management role. So
yeah, awesome. And so, your story starts back, like you said, 4.5 years ago. You come into Point Pleasant, and this was, we talk about this sometimes on the podcast. I mean, we might as well be talking 30 years ago, right? And in Village Caregiving years, this was forever ago. It was a different company. It was small. You were like location 4 or 5 in there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so location 5. Point Pleasant, that office still going today, right? Tori and her team are in Point Pleasant, absolutely killing it, growing month after month after month, providing tremendous service all along that area in Ohio and West Virginia. Then you go upriver, right? And you end up in Parkersburg. Wendy Hill and her team, explosive growth, awesome foundation. I remember when I started coming around the home office, Cory was notorious for hiring it. That was his big thing. Cory hired everyone in Point Pleasant. Right?
Famous for his your hiring prowess. I'm being serious too. How did you even do that? Well, I don't want to steal your question. Is that where you were going?
No. I was just going to say, I mean, you were known for your hustle and for your effort. And it was the things that you did in Point Pleasant and then eventually what you did in Parkersburg allowed where we're in, Cheyenne today, or we're in Albuquerque today. Like, it was without that grit and that determination that you pushed through many years ago that allowed us to be where we are today. Where did that come from?
Yeah, really, it was really, honestly, just like we always ask for our executive directors to do. I literally would just show up to the office and I would kind of come up with a game plan and take care of my clients that needed help initially. And then whenever I wasn't doing things, I would just go out and start talking to people. So my business started growing. I was getting calls left and right for new clients to go out and help. So in turn, I needed to, how do you take care of clients without having caregivers? So I'm out there just constantly networking and trying to find, new caregivers. And I was asking literally every single person out there.
You hired half of the town, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm not so sure that's even that much of an exaggeration, man. It was
at one point. It was.
How did you do it though? Just straight up ask them? You said you go out and you talk to people. Just hey, you want a job?
You use the great caregivers that you have internally, and you just start talking to them and trying to figure out what was attractive to them to join us. And from there, you obviously post on Facebook, you post on Indeed, or whatever sites you want to use. And as you keep bringing people on, you just trying to network with them on who else you're going to bring in. So, and then from there, if I'd go out to eat, obviously everyone eats, and I was driving, 45 minutes from my house to, so I wasn't always packing lunch. I'd go out to eat and I would, just start talking to people. You talk to the fast food worker or someone who you're running through that has scrubs on. It's like, all right, hey, what do you do for work?
That's what I was just about to ask you. Have you ever just hired a complete stranger, like in line at the grocery store or something?
Yeah. You kind of just talk to them, make sure that they, I don't know, they have to have some good qualities. It's like, hey, you look pretty shady. Like, join the team.
Are those orange scrubs or are those from jail?
Yeah. So it's, you talk to them, you bring them in and try to fill them out and make sure that they feel the purpose behind this job, because we talk about this all the time. The purpose is unlike any other. Flexibility is great. Obviously I didn't really kind of go on that, but the purpose is you get to take care of people in their home. You get to extend their life, their comfortability in their home. And then, flexibility, you get to pick your schedule. What better work schedule you can make it, man. You want to work on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you want to work on whatever, you pick your schedule. And then, pay, we pay them better than any other company out there for in-home healthcare. And so, that's the pitch whenever you would talk to these people. And honestly, I think if you look, Jeff, you and I did this not too long ago. We looked at the roster, and man, I really almost shocked 4.5 years later on how many caregivers we still have that are still there. And I'm really extremely proud of that.
Yeah.
Because that just also says a lot about Tori and about the company too.
Sure.
It's just.
I think it's really cool that, you have a strong sales background. I get myself a lot of hard times about this. I'm not a good salesperson. It's not, I struggle with it. And the success that I had is because it's really education, right? You're not going out into Point Pleasant or Parkersburg and creating a need, right? Like you didn't show up and create this, I need a timeshare, right? Like, I mean, all you were doing was just talking to people, educating them that they needed the help. There were people that needed the help. They needed the job. And all you did was made yourself available, made your presence known within that community. You know, last week we had the Clarksburg team on there, an office that's been around for 100 years, still grows month after month. And so much of what their response was, we were just in the community. Like, we just make ourselves available. And I mean, that was, sometimes I think we overcomplicate this process. All you did was made yourself available, right?
Absolutely. I mean, like I tell a lot of our executive directors, just physically getting out of your office and going to talk to someone, you will see results. And this is one of the key sayings that, you know, Ben and I, just a long story, you know, let's play this back. Ben and I worked at the same bank before we came over, as did, you know, a couple like Leanne, you know, there's a few other people who worked with us. And one of our managers, regional managers, one of his favorite sayings was activities drive results. And that's
become a mantra here.
It is. Yeah. It has just stayed with us, you know, since that day. I mean, you know, activities drive results. So if you just physically get out of your chair and you go and talk to someone across the street, it doesn't have to be some big, huge sales pitch, because we don't want that. That's not what we want. We literally want you to just go and say, I am here to take care of people. Yeah. You know, we've got the best caregivers. We're going to send the best caregivers out to take care of people that need our services. And that's all it is.
It's awesome. It really is. It's a super, I think, simplistic thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Use the example, like, we're not doing brain surgery. We're not putting rockets into space here. We're providing care for people that need it. And I mean, you were one of the originals at it, and we're so good at it, and continue to share that message with our new directors. Jeff, you probably have a better knowledge of Cory's family than I do, but I had a really cool experience. We were at one of the local hospitals for a meeting one day, and some people was asking some questions, and those folks had been around the medical community here in the greater Huntington area for a long time. And your mom came up in conversation. I've met Andy through a couple different ways, but she's done some work with our CPR training early on and stuff. But your folks have a tremendous reputation in the community. I mean, your mom is notorious throughout the local hospital system here. And I've shared some conversations with you about what your dad's background was in and stuff. They're clearly very well-respected, ethical people. How did that contribute to the person and the contributor that you are in your community today?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of who I am. It's you know, I think when we always say do the right thing and just always being honest, like, that's just stuff that's been driven home to me since I was a little kid. And that's the kind of stuff that, you know, when you ask me about what I do in my spare time and what's my balance like, that's exactly what I try to carry on. And it's thanks to my parents. You know, it's you know, I try to instill this on the kids today that I go and coach. You know, later on today I'll go and go to practice with my kids. You know, I've got 5 and 6 year olds, and we're coaching football. And while we're running around crazy, it's, you know, they don't always get the right message, right? So, but what I try to tell them always is literally, you know, show up, do the right thing, be responsible. You know what I'm saying? It's the small things in life that if you can continue to just be a hard worker and stay disciplined, you are going to go really far in life. So yeah, that's, like you said, my parents have always, you know, always trying to drive me in the right direction and make sure that, you know, I'm a responsible person. And it's funny. That's our, you know, our saying is do the right thing, right? That's what I've been told since I was, you know, 5 years old. You know, you leave the house to go sleep over. It's like, make sure you say please and thank you, and you better be good.
Yeah.
How hard is it coaching that age?
Oh my gosh, it's wild.
I love when I hear you talk about it, especially when the kids are a little bit younger, because maybe a year or two ago you were going to like 4-year-old basketball practice.
Oh, tough.
And I was like, man, what do you even do? And you're like, dude, it's just complete and utter chaos.
Yes.
I mean, everyone is going every which direction.
Yeah.
And then I heard a funny story. I don't remember if it was one of you two guys or somebody else in the office. They were coaching. Actually, I think it might have been Luke Yingling, and you've coached soccer too.
Oh, yeah.
But he was saying that he was coaching the same age group, 4-year-old soccer kids, and at one point in the middle of the game, he looked out, and every single one of his players was lying flat on the ground, face down, crying.
Yeah,
that's tough to coach.
Oh man, you don't coach them. You don't teach them that.
No.
Well, I mean, they might have been like 3 or 4. These are tiny kids, but
it's fun, man. You get a lot of, I mean, especially when you coach little boys, and if they start to get hit and it just, you get some of the funniest things you ever heard. Is some stuff I probably shouldn't say on the podcast. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, honestly, the best part though is sometimes you'll have a rough day and some things don't go the way you planned it. And then one of the little guys will come up and give you a hug.
Yeah.
And it's just, you really don't expect it. And you're like, whoa, that floored you.
Yeah,
So.
that's good stuff,
Yeah,
man.
my daughter is 8, and she's recently on an all-girls soccer team, which was a big step up for us. You know, we're finally getting to that age where they know their positions and stuff. And we were in the middle of a very contested game the other day, and the 3 girls that was on the bench were practicing braids. And there was no soccer occurring, and the girls wanted to come out of the game because they wanted their braids done. I'm like, we are not soccering today. We are not chasing a championship with this braid situation. So it is a lot of fun though.
Cory, if you had to pick one thing that you've learned at Village Caregiving in your career that you didn't know when you were working at these other companies you were talking about, what would that one thing be?
That's a serious interview question right there. I
It
like
is.
it. In your interview voice on the card. The one thing that I'll say I really didn't know would be, it's a tough question. I'll take it from the Village Caregiving point towards our directors. I would say, and our caregivers, is that you don't realize how much, hearing you and hearing Matt and Andrew and Ben, everybody on the executive team, you hear how much we are seriously trying to make the job better for the executive director, for the nurse, for the caregiver. We're trying to make that job so much better to, in turn, give better services to the client. And that part, you don't really think about it when you're in the fight of, like say as a caregiver, like take me back to, 4 years ago, whenever I'm the executive director and I'm filling in at someone's house.
Yeah.
I don't think about what the executive team is thinking about on what are they doing today. It's like, they're just,
Right.
They're just in a meeting. They're just talking. But it really is to really hear you guys really drive home the message of, we really want to have top tier service that we're providing to our clients. We want our caregivers to feel like they have a job that they can be really, really proud of. And for the executive directors to know that, my goodness, we really, really want this job to be as easy as we can and a rewarding job. So that part, I think that you just don't really know always. You don't get that feeling always, but it's really discussed on a daily basis in our office.
Yeah. Well, what I hear saying is really culture starts here and it flows downhill all the way into the homes with a caregiver. And that's
Absolutely.
a real thing. I mean, their boss, the boss's boss, and boss's boss, it all starts right there. What kind of people are we going to be? What kind of decisions are we going to make? And then it influences the whole game.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I got that one.
You got a check mark
Interview
next to
question,
that one. Yeah.
check.
Oh, wait till you see the next one.
Okay.
Oh boy.
You go ahead.
So something that you and I share is that our spouses work at Village Caregiving, right? What has that been like? You guys are a little bit different situation. Molly works remote in the billing department, right?
Yeah.
How much your kids wear jerseys with Village Caregiving's
Always.
name on it, right? We had some directors in town not long ago. We went down to a local restaurant and there hung the Village Caregiving Golf Scramble sign in the window. We joke that a lot of the buildings in Barbersville are Village Caregiving properties, right? As we've grown and expanded. What is it to be a part of Village Caregiving in the community of Barbersville? You guys are local folks. Your kids are in the school system. You're in the sports. What is that like, being a part of something that's so much of the village of Barbersville?
Well, I mean, it's honestly amazing to be able to work for a company that provides so much to the community, because I've worked in other places where we, in order to get it to sponsor a team, it's like you're trying to pass a bill or something. Like it's almost impossible, right? So to be able to just have someone walk up and say, hey, our Little League team needs a sponsor, or we need some funds to try to help out to get something done, right?
Yeah.
And to know that we can just go ahead and help them out, it's amazing. And so, I constantly have people walking up to me, or Andy, if Andy and I go to lunch, right? And his son and daughter, they're both involved in sports as well. And we'll have multiple people come up to us and say, hey, thanks. We noticed that not only are you at this field here in Barbersville, across town, there's another field with there's your sign right there in
Yeah.
the outfield, or you sponsored another team out there. So
Really, people you don't even know come up to you?
yeah, or people
That's pretty
who
neat.
go and say if it's like travel baseball and they go from one field to the other field, they see our signs on multiple places from hours apart.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
That's pretty
it's-
cool.
It's kind of cool. My kids were up a couple weeks ago, and it was they had a doctor's appointment, and they were at the office for a couple hours, and I ran them down to Barbersville Elementary's playground so
Yeah.
they could play while we were on lunch break. And there was the big village caregiving sign hanging on the fence there. My kids pointed at it. They're real proud of it. They were
Yeah.
at Marshall soccer camp over the summer, and one of the guys that works in the office was hanging out with one of the Marshall coaches. And they're like, hey, there was this kid by the name of Emma that was on my soccer team, said that her parents worked at Village Caregiving. And thought that was really cool. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of everywhere. It's such a unique thing.
It is.
That just kind of makes it special. What has been your favorite day at Village Caregiving?
Oh man, that's a very, very tough question. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Man, which ones? I don't know which
We've
ones
had a
I
lot of fun days.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I honestly, it's got to be going back to. I can't really give you a specific day, but
Yeah.
I can tell you about times
Sure.
that I can remember being. So 650 Main Street, obviously.
Yeah.
Was the headquarter, our main building, and now since then we've kind of moved over to 701 Main Street. But at 650, Andy and I used to basically have a conference table that wasn't much bigger than this, and that was our office for a long time. You
Yeah.
had the coffee table up front.
Yep, I had the couch.
Yep, you had the couch and the coffee table. And those days, I think it's hard to really describe and know how awesome it was. Like, you know how in the office that whenever it's almost over, whenever Andy the character says something about referencing how do you know you're in the good old days, during the good old days.
Yeah.
That was honestly how I felt. Like, I really feel like that now, looking back then, because man, we had such just an awesome connection with all of us back there. You know, you'd be out there up front. Heflin would be manning the front desk. Me and Andy would be in the conference room, and Jeff and Matt would conference into the conference room. And it was just a good time. I mean, we were taking care of people left and right. The business was exploding and just going all over the place, and we were just having just the best time. It's honestly, I think you'll hear that from a lot of the executive directors now. Their favorite part is the people in our culture, and that you could really get that feeling at that point in time for me personally, because now we're so large and we've got a lot of different things going in different places, and to really be able to look back and say this is whenever all this big huge company was taking off, and to really be able to sit there and think back to that, that was something.
Special times. I've heard you talk about the exact same thing a lot.
Yeah.
Man, it was, I mean, and there's still, we had, just kind of a spontaneous cookout one day and got a kickball game going just recently. And there was a lot of new faces, or people that was at that kickball game that wasn't here a year ago. And those are great. And those are really special times. The time that we moved Zach Wellman's island top into his house. And I mean, that was the heaviest thing God has ever allowed to become mobile on earth. We could have moved this building easier than we moved that. But and so it wasn't a specific thing. It was just the people are just, and I mean, we're still making those memories. Some of the time you and I went to Indianapolis together and ate at the steakhouse and just almost ran out of gas.
That car had 2 miles to empty? That was something.
We really pushed the envelope.
Those were back. We were in the trenches. That's why you're working. That your office was a conference table. Your office was a coffee table with a couch. But it was fun times. It was really challenging. I mean, I was working my tail off.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost now. I talked about this not too long ago. I almost can't even believe I did it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm the same guy and tough enough to do that again. I mean, those were tough times, but they were really rewarding times. I agree with you guys.
There was a time when FedEx had that story, when UPS had that story, or CVS had that story, and you hear these people tell these stories from 30 years ago of kind of these things that happen. It makes me want to still do silly things. Like, no, I'll go do that right now. Just because you know that's leading to something. You know what I mean? I mean,
Is that what makes you do them?
yeah, absolutely. I think so. Sarah, your wife, disagrees. She says that there's other issues.
You're just clinically insane, right?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that's kind of spot on. You got to put yourself out there for new things.
Yeah. There is no way.
I couldn't tell. I started at an awkward time. Hey, Cory, who is your hero?
Man.
I spell it with 2 A's.
Yeah, Aaron was my first. Now that he ruined that,
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Besides Aaron,
I was gonna say
Lifetime.
Jeffrey Appleseed for eating a whole entire apple last episode. That was pretty impressive.
Unbelievable. Good
I think
apple.
you got most of it licked. You got the worst part behind you.
This is the kindest thing anyone's ever said.
Jeffrey Appleseed. I'll take it.
He's in
I
there.
kind of like that.
Yeah, it's gonna stick.
Well, you know that Sally Guy in Fort Wayne, Indiana's relative is Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah.
Maybe me too now.
There you go.
You know, my other nickname is in the Fantasy Football League,
Go on.
Johnny Barbersville.
Johnny Barbersville.
At any rate, who is your hero?
Man, I don't know. Maybe it's just a weird answer, but I would honestly, it's probably collectively, it's my parents. I mean, they raised my brother and I, and really extremely proud of my parents and my brother. Honestly, I mean, it's just been a family person, so I really haven't had to look much farther outside of that. They really, like I said, they instilled some building blocks in my life to really help me build my family. So. It's I don't know if that's that I swear to you that's not like meant to be a cheesy answer or anything, but
No,
I don't have someone else that outside of my life that's really influenced me. Now, I mean, I've had great peers in my life, and great support people. Ben Keenan would be one, that person that I've looked up to. That's
Mentor.
He's been a mentor, and he's been a great friend, and someone I could call on to ask him some tough questions and point me in the right direction, but. I definitely not meant to be a cheesy answer, but
no, it's an honest answer. And your parents, who I know well, they're amazing, great people. Okay, I'm out of questions.
That's it. Cory, did you have any questions for Jeff?
Yeah,
we don't have time.
I got a lot, man. I don't know if I can get through them all.
We'll do that on another episode.
That'd be a fun episode. Yeah,
He always says he's going to interview me on one of them.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring in some people. And each one's going to come in and ask a question of him.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
We'll see what happens. We may do it live.
He says these things, and they happen. He'll tell me he's going to have me blindfolded one week. By God, it's on my eyes the next
Sure
week.
enough, there's the blindfold.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cory, do you have a couple minutes for the fishbowl?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Let's see what happens here.
Let's get through rapid fire. We can get through about 3 or 4 of these things real quick.
I hate when the belt of a robe is in the top slot. This may be the most privileged thing I've ever read in my life. Go on.
What?
I know. I hate when the belt of a robe is in the top slot.
Okay, I thought you said something else. Okay.
You ever ran into this? How often do you robe?
I don't.
Yeah.
You all don't ever wear a robe?
No.
No.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Here I go again. I'm getting
you've
ready
been
to get
seen
embarrassed.
now. Yeah, you've been seen.
Nobody in here ever
Yeah.
wears a robe? Oh, my. Yeah.
What? How
Okay.
often?
Well,
Really?
okay.
Well, I travel a lot, and when I'm in a hotel, the first thing I want to do is after a long day walking around the city or something, get showered up, cleaned up, throw that robe
Straight
on.
into a robe.
They always have the belt in the there's 2 slots in there.
Yeah.
That's a common problem,
Well-
Sam. Listen, a lot of times they always start it in the top slot, and I've got to take the belt, tie out, put it in the bottom. It's just such an aggravation because why would you want it that high? I've got to do all the talking here because you all don't wear robes.
Yeah, maybe they're short.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, Ben usually books us in at the Hampton
Yeah,
Inn,
we
so
don't get-
we don't get a
yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
lot of robe issues.
I wear a robe at the house all the time too. Big time robe guy. But what I'm comparing it to is I don't take my belt and put it around my rib cage. Scoot that down a little bit. It's so uncomfortable to be that high.
Yeah.
Well, you're not wearing other people's pants. That'd be what I would say. Back to that.
Yeah, I'll keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
That one got us nowhere. I'm sorry.
Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah,
That also frustrates me, just for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's kind. Corey, I know this is something that would drive you crazy.
Okay.
I know this for sure about you.
Okay.
What do you do when a person next to you in the movie theater just won't stop talking? And I'm not talking about Molly. I'm talking about on the other side of it. When Gary just won't get off the phone. God.
You've gone to the theater. Let's just pretend that every seat's taken.
You're
You
there
can't just
yeah.
move, right?
Yeah.
The guy's talking, the girl's talking, whoever. They're talking during the previews, which is kind of annoying, but you know,
it's all right. Yeah.
Now the movie's starting. You can tell they're just going to talk during the movie. What do you do?
That's a tough one. Because that's probably my biggest. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. Actually.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
you have
that
found
one
it.
and that one and like just crunching and just rattling the popcorn the entire time. Man, that's tough.
These people are flat out just
talking on the cell phone. You gotta politely ask, knock it off. You know,
Politely ask.
Yeah.
That is one option. What about you?
I'm going to say this about Corey real quick. Corey will get to a point real quick. We used to have this joke that it was very rare that we ever had to let anyone go, right? And I always joked with Corey. I went with this guy one time. He didn't even turn the truck off. I mean, he's like, oh, we'll be in and out on this. I mean, Corey will get to a point. I'll walk around a thing for an hour and a half. Corey's like, yeah, we're going to do this and then we're going to go to lunch. And I'm like, I have changed some of my positioning in life where Corey's just like, yeah, you're going to need to quit talking in this theater. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll just.
Well, he said politely.
Yeah, no, and it is. It's to the point. Yeah, no. It's, you know.
You just don't waste any time beating around the bush.
I can't tell a big story like Aaron. I will forget the story by the time it comes around. So,
well, we all do.
Okay, let's not. Anyways,
hey,
he's
he's got a good story.
What would you
I can't
do?
it.
The person talking in front of you in the movie theater? Because I have an answer to this too. That's probably not what you'd expect from me.
So most of my life, I've just come up with the idea of like sometimes you just get the person beside you that talks during the movie. Like I'm like, sometimes the steak isn't cooked right, and you just move on. But recently, like in the last year of my life, I have become a little bit more like, I won't say confrontational, but there's a guy, Danielle about died the other day. We were out walking in our community and someone is redoing a house and they tore up the concrete on the sidewalk and stacked it on either side. It's now impassable. All right. Mm-hmm. This happened last year. This guy tore up the concrete, stacked it up, blocked the sidewalk. You got to go out in the street to walk around. Well, I've been waiting. We walk that street all the time. And finally he was out the other day.
Yeah.
And we're walking by. Danielle gets out in the street. I get out in the street. She goes on. I stop. I said, hey, they going to put new concrete in here? What are we going to do with this? It has been a year. You put new siding up. You put the drywall in. Put the concrete back down, bro. You know? And so he says, oh, yeah, I'm going to put a new sidewalk in here. I was like, well, we think we're going to do it before it freezes? And he goes, we're well over a year now. And so I think in the movie theater today that happens, I'm going to say, hey, we'll probably take that outside. You know?
Yeah,
that's where I am in life
for you.
now. Yeah. I may get shot because of it. I don't know.
Oh, that's not likely.
Have you guys ever been to a movie theater in a different city? I know you went to one like in England or something recently, right? Mm-hmm. You watched a movie there. Have you ever went to a movie?
No.
I found, and I did not expect this, we went to a movie theater in Columbus, Ohio, major city, one time.
Yeah.
And it was an
He's explaining to me the size of Columbus, Ohio. Big. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, I know you're not much of a traveler, so
right.
Usually in this city.
Yeah.
You're in Columbus in a theater. Yes.
And it was more of an interactive experience than you'd get around here. They were the crowd itself was interacting with the movie, and I quickly realized
what movie?
It was, what movie were we at? It was a comedy.
I think he's making this whole thing up.
No, I'm not. It was I think it was a Tyler Perry movie. It was like one of the Medea movies. They were interacting with the movie. And it made the experience. It was hilarious.
Well, some movies are made for that. Rocky Horror Picture Show. The whole thing is an interactive experience.
Well, maybe that was the case then. I don't know if I would
trying
go
to
see
figure
The
out,
Notebook.
You don't even know what movie you were at.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why I don't know why it would make a difference. I was just saying in major cities, we found that sometimes this would happen. It happened in Vancouver and we watched Sonic the Hedgehog with the kids. That was interactive.
It was interactive too?
Yeah.
It might have, the kids might have had something to do with that.
What's nice about going to a theater in another bigger cities is they have the ones where you can order food, get drinks, get a beer, wine, whatever. I mean, we just don't have that here.
No.
Yeah.
Can't wear a robe. Don't be
And if
ludicrous.
you get one, it definitely comes with it on the top.
Yeah.
Oh, if you got one, it'd be way up high.
Yeah.
You know what I would do in the theater? I'm going to camp this
I want
off.
to hear this, actually.
Tell me.
This is not a job. I've done it before. That's how
believe
come
it.
I know now.
Yeah.
Leave.
You would just sacrifice your
I
experience.
just say that I apparently was not meant to watch this movie at this time on this day, and I'm leaving. I just leave.
Wow.
Because what I've learned is if I confront the person, which is my natural instinct, because I'm kind of a bit of a hothead sometimes,
I've always said it.
then I'm distracted. I really want to see this movie. I came here to see this, but I'm thinking about this the whole time, and I've got that uneasy feeling. It's just, I'm not going to have a good time now, no matter what. I've confronted him, not going to have a good time. He's talking, not going to have a good time.
Yeah.
I just leave.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just leave and come back.
Cut your losses.
Yep.
I'll say my natural instinct would actually be to move seats, would probably be the first thing. Now,
Yeah.
if there's no other seats, if it's the guy's talking on the cell phone, you could probably just tell him, maybe take that outside.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you're right.
I see.
Yeah, I don't
makes
blame
sense.
you. I kind of don't blame you, because then if you do confront someone, then you really kind of feel bad about it anyways, and then
Yeah.
you're going to be thinking about it for a while. So,
You know,
I don't blame you.
being like the dad and the husband of the relationship, and like we'll go to sporting events if someone's a little unruly or whatever. I'm like, do I have an obligation here to do something? Like, is Danielle or the kids like looking at me like, hey, are you going to step up and handle this? And I'm like, I'm just trying to watch the game. Like, oh, this guy be an idiot. I
think you're all right. It's not your
Okay.
job to police the world.
Yeah, but a lot of people look at me, because where I'm so muscular and stuff, they're probably thinking, yeah, it's the camera angles and stuff. But yeah, the shirt, it's whatever. Are you adjusting the cameras?
I'd get that camera angle just right. For
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people probably think, oh, this guy's our protector. That's why the Lord gave him this. Oh,
That's
that
what I
wasn't
think.
a comedy.
Daniel
If somebody
said that
busts in
multiple
here,
times.
yeah, I'm just hiding behind you.
Well, Corey,
Yeah. Solid way to end it.
Sorry, this didn't really end the way that you probably hoped, but we
Yeah.
got a little bit off
Aaron, when we
track.
shake hands when we leave, make sure you don't break my hand.
yeah, well, that's a fear of mine. I have to know my own strength.
Yeah.
Well, Corey, man,
All right.
thank you so much for coming down and being on the podcast. Time flew. I still don't even know if it's correct. We could be at an hour and a half mark or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that works. Either way.
Well, man,
Been
Corey,
fun.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Love you, man.
Yeah, there we go, yeah.